God is speaking to you through this apparent me. God is delivering to you this message. This message is brought to you by God. Hey, you're looking at my story. It's not my story. It's a story. A story within a story. This story of life. This narration of mind. And when we stop narrating, we stop telling stories, life still is continuing. So then it is God's mind, the cosmic mind, telling a story, but not with words, or not just words, but all forms. This is all the word of God. God is saying this. God is saying you. God is saying everything with and without words. Hang on a second, this is your story. Just as much as it is my story. It is our story. Our stories intertwine. They merge. They are one. They are one with difference. There is uniqueness and difference to our individual stories, and yet they merge in God's story, this cosmic story, which is both including words and our specific narration, and also excluding. It is beyond words. The deeper language of God story. Know what I'm saying? This is God's story. God is telling this story. I'm being used, but it feels good because I'm being used correctly. I'm not being abused. I'm being used by God as a tool, a mechanism, a conduit. I am like the pen in God's hand. I am like the hand of God. We are being used. I am being used to speak to you. You are being used to listen and perhaps add your own interpretation and your own thoughts on the matter of this Mad Hatter. Isn't it wonderful to have the freedom of free will, this supposed free will, where we can choose and consciously choose to do and say specific things, such as all this stuff. We can think and feel however we want, and we can choose to look to God, look for God, to find God. We can choose to meditate. We can choose to shut the fuck up. Verbally, inwardly, in a dialogue, mentally, we can shut up. We can choose to listen. We can pray to God. We can meditate and listen to God. We can say, I hear you. We can not just say it, but we can do it. We can listen to God. And then we hear what God has to say, which is all of this. It is what I said earlier, where everything is the word of God. We hear and see that. We're like, oh, this is all the word of God. I didn't notice it earlier because I was too busy constantly talking. And then once we have that realization, that revelation, that epiphany, we connect to that actuality, that reality, then we can continue to speak again, but this time with full awareness that it is God speaking. So I can add to my story, I can make this video with full awareness that it's God's story. God is speaking directly to him, her, it, self. Through me, through you, we are both conduits. Seemingly separate individual conduits, like two hands, but really both hands are on the same body. So the body belongs to God, so really the conduit for God to speak is God. So we are God, and God is speaking through us. And yet we have uniqueness and difference because of our ego, this mind, individuality, this unique forms, this display of this array of light, spectrum, sounds, vibrations of multiplicity. So your whole life is God's life. God is dreaming of being you, just as you are dreaming of being God. And it's a dream come true. It's not a fantasy. It is a fantasy. It's an illusion, but it's true. Depending on your philosophical perspective, depending on what concepts you would like to add to this story, this is God's story. Your whole life, God is remembering, dreaming, having a vision of being you. Hello, God. Fly God. I was just visited by the most fly. You hear that bird? In the same way that it's just being and singing, this bird is this being and singing, delivering to you a message of being. The message is just be and sing. When you stop all effort, you see the effort is already happening by itself, and there's no struggle. When you stop speaking, you see that God's already speaking, and you don't need to speak anymore. It's not to say that you resist speaking. You just stop struggling. You allow and you listen. And if sounds want to come out through your body, let it happen. It feels good. And it's divine. Because you're in flow, in bliss. And then everything you say is just divine. It's all self-similar and pointing to God, pointing to itself. God can use you. God is already using you. It's such a paradox. It's a beautiful paradox. God is manifesting in form, in plurality, duality, polarized opposites. So there's this paradoxical play, a divine play, divine lila. This play of you doing things or surrendered to God, letting God do things, good and bad. But really it's both God. One is ignorant of God, the other is self-aware. The self-aware one is God, and you, the real you. The ignorant one is conditioning, Satan, evil, which is paradoxically God pretending not to be God. So you're being used by God always, whether you're aware of it or not. The thing is, when you're not aware of it, you act in a way which makes it hides God. you distract others, you're distracted from God. And what comes out of you and what you do has this limited function, limited purpose. It's limited to your limited memory, limited knowledge, limited intentions, your conditioning, which is programmed, which is limited. And when you, as the individual with free will, conditioning, you as the ego, when you choose to surrender to God, to be used by God, you realize you already were, but now you're aware of it, and you're purposefully, intentionally doing it consciously, then God can speak through you with less and less limitation. And then you become a oracle, a mystic, a sorcerer, a channel, a divine channel. You start channeling source energy and messages, and you pick up on what God knows. God is all-knowing. You don't have to know with your limited mind, but you can pick up on it. The kids have come out of school, and that kid who I saw the other day is like, "Hey, who are you?" Again. Hilarious. Gotta love the energy of kids. They're being and singing a lot, and they really express the formative conditioning as the ego is starting to take place. It's very beautiful. Wow, there's a lot of yellow t-shirts today. And now I'm on the move again. I'm walking. But am I walking? Or is God walking? I think it's the latter and the former, for they are one. I didn't choose to walk though. I felt it. I felt a blissful impulse to walk. And so I'm walking. I didn't think I'm gonna walk. I could have. It's really flow state is the key. And feeling. Being able to discern what feels good, which way to go, which way does God want you to flow. All those who are psychologically suffering in a sort of, chronic state of suffering, in a depression, anxiety, or like just every day there's like a sadness that's like following them around. They're simply unaware of who they are, what they are. In other words, they're unaware of God. In other words, they've been conditioned to be distracted, to be ignorant, to ignore, and they're not focused on discovering it. Well, they could be, and they're just having a hard time figuring it out. Or they're just completely in denial of it, or they're trying to escape it with external seeking or pleasure seeking and stuff. With the grace of God, one finds knowledge, direction, correction, help, assistance, which says, hey, look within, or hey, have you heard about the source, or God, or spirit, or, these kind of things? Because the source is the solution to your problems. And then one seeks God, or looks within, and they come to find their true nature. And then they realize they are divine. And then they are able to divine. They can divinize. They can channel God. I didn't make any of these videos I didn't send you this message. I mean, I did. I played a part as this body, as this individual mind. But truly, it is God using me. And it feels fucking good. It feels God. Because it is God. So, yeah. God bless you. God bless you. I send you endless flowers. Beautiful flowers. I send you love. I send you support. I send you guidance. I send you a kiss on your left earlobe. Number 1. God makes all. Would you look at that? 88888888. The place to be. When you surrender to God, everything in your life improves. Everything gets better. Everything gets godly. And you might not see results instantly, but it does happen instantly. It already is happening. This whole dialogue is paradoxical. It is divine, which means it's filled with paradoxes. You have to transcend the paradox. You have to see past the words and see the point, the 0 point, the 1 point, the one way. You have to see what is being pointed at, which is you. It's God, the source, the one. So, yeah. Walking and talking is just so fun. And then finding random benches. In the sun. Barefoot. When you surrender to God, everything becomes godly, and all that is ungodly dissipates and disappears. All the demonic traits, attributes, the ignorance, the evil, malevolence, all the bad shit. Hell disappears and heaven appears. When you surrender all effort, you surrender to God, to the source. What a cutie pie. What was I saying? I don't know. When you surrender to God, something happens. What happens? Lots of things happen. Nothing happens. What is revealed is what already is and what always will be. What is revealed is the permanent, the eternal. What a paradox. What a paradox. And surrender itself is such a paradox, because it's not actually an action. It's not, I'm going to do this thing. It's, I surrender. Surrender and letting go, and acceptance and allowance, they're all synonymous, and they're a non-action. It's like a mental action. It's like a spiritual action. It's more a decision, a choice. It's like it happens in a millisecond, a split second or something, or it's like, it's not time bound. It's a magical thing. Because when you surrender all effort, or you surrender to God, and what is revealed is what already is, what changes there? It's like what disappears is ignorance, which is not a thing. It's Maya, illusion, that disappears, which is, what is Maya illusion? It's an appearance, but it's not real. So it's like just the removal of your ignoring what is. And what is heaven, God, and divinity. You are the child of God and one with God. So you begin to think, feel, experience and act in alignment with that, in resonance. Do you want heaven on earth? Do you want the earth to wake up to God? Wake up from its sleepy slumber? Do you want to wake up from your sleepy slumber? From the daydream of suffering? Conflict? I'm sure you do. I know you do. I do. Everyone does. Even if they seem evil, we all have the same God. God is in our heart. Well, if you choose God, if you surrender to God, then your wish is granted. It's granted. So, do it. Remember, it's not an action. It takes no effort. It's just a decision. It's just a choice. Do that effortless non-action, and your dreams come true. It's that simple. It's too simple. Way too simple. Suffering, ego, our conditioning is difficult. Struggle is hard. It takes work. It takes a lot of complex mind power, physical power. It takes a lot of effort. But choosing God is effortless. Surrendering effort is effortless. It's just a decision. When you surrender all effort, surrender to God, you don't just collapse. Like, you don't just fall over. You don't just take a nap. Although you could do that. That sounds quite fun. But you just accept and allow what already is. And you actually gain power. You gain strength. You can put in more effort. Because now you're in alignment. You're aware that God is the one doing it all. And God has supreme energy and effort and power. In fact, God is all powerful. Don't you want to be powerful? Do you want to be fearless? Do you want to be free from suffering? Do you care about others and want everyone to be fearless and free from suffering? Yes? Well, this is for you. I'm trying to do an ad for God. I'm advertising God. I'm a God salesman. But it's free. Costs nothing. Remember? It's effortless. It just costs your suffering and ignorance. And what you do for yourself, what you do for God, you do for all. So free yourself and you free all. You become this divine conduit. You become the Messiah. The child of God. You are the child of God, literally. And that doesn't mean you're mundane, like you're just boring. And it can mean that. But it's that the boring becomes magical. And also, you can become magical. You have the right. It is your birthright to be the Buddha. To be the Messiah. And the only reason you wouldn't be the Buddha, the Messiah. The only reason why you wouldn't help guide humanity and uplift and awaken is because of the ego, because of conditioning, because fear. That's one of the main big parts of Maya. Fear of judgment of others, because you believe they're separate to you. You believe you lack in power to make change. One of the main results of ignorance is fear, because we're ignorant of God. And so we're afraid because we feel abandoned, lost, and separate. And yeah. So fuck all that shit. Let's get on with it. Heaven on earth. Very simple. It's so simple and easy. It's too easy. Back to that again. Simple versus complex. Fuck the complex. It's simple. Just love. Love God. Honor. The grace of God comes swooshing in at the speed of light to help you in the divine fight. You are given unlimited might. You are given all the words, day and night. If everyone on earth is on this same wavelength, you would see heaven on earth. You already do see heaven on earth if you have the perception. But due to ignorance, a lot of humanity is behaving hellish. Wars, conflict, arguments, judgments, cruelty, being mean, and they're suffering, they're sad. And I can feel it. I can feel humanity, I can feel others. Empathy. And oneness with God. We can feel it in the weather, in the air. This is divine activism. I'm acting on behalf of divinity. This message is brought to you by God, the source, your heart, for the benefit of all living beings. And it feels really fucking good. And it's really easy. It's good news. It's very good news. Isn't that what they say? Or what Jesus says? Spread the good news. The God news. It's very good news. I ought to start a news channel called The Good News. Or The God News. We need to spread the word. The word. It's powerful. The word. I've been fiending to take the head off malevolent psychopaths, but I never come across them, and I do not have a weapon. Although, if push came to shove, I could use anything. So, without taking that route, let's just use the word. Let thy word be thy sword, and let it shine with love and power. Evil and ignorance is hiding in the shadows. That's why we struggle to bring them to the gallows. But when they are touched by rays of light, we put an instant end to their plight. What am I talking about? I don't know. Okay. You know, all of humanity is within you. Yeah, everything's within you, but slightly less fundamental, going into your ego, your mind, your conditioning, all the collective of humanity's conditioning, the condition of humanity is in yourself, in your mind. So when you go within and you find God, you find yourself, and you transcend your conditioning, you transcend hell and find heaven, then you now have the solution to humanity. And you are now the Messiah, motherfucker. You already were the Messiah, but just now you know it. So, yeah. Spread the good word. Now. Do it now. We as humanity have all the resources to look after everyone. We are extremely wealthy and abundant and advanced. So, simply spreading the good word really helps everyone. And not just humanity, it helps the animals, it helps the earth, and beyond. It helps the cosmos, the multiverse. On behalf of God, you have been sent this message to remind you that heaven is right here, and it can reveal itself very fast. Everyone looking within equals everyone finding God, finding themselves, discovering heaven, and then voila, heaven on earth, including humanity's state of being, conditioning. So you can do it first. You become the Buddha, the Messiah, and then you're on God's team as one of the great resources to bring forth heaven on earth. And it's just exponential acceleration towards heaven. Utopia. Just imagine it. Have the vision. Basically, all of you do. Everyone who sees this, because we're on the same wavelength. But some of you might be like, what the fuck? Imagine it. Everyone enlightened. Everyone resting in their hearts, emanating love, doing good works for the benefit of all, creating beauty, goodness, integrity, supporting one another, honesty, no more fear across the land and seas. Come on. Abundance. Fruit trees everywhere. Come on. Just imagine it. And then it's just oneness with God. Everywhere. I think that's the end of this message. I'm always with you. God bless you. Oh, there's more. So, the vision, everyone's enlightened, heaven on earth. Then what? Is there any evil? There might be some evil. They go run, hide in the shadows. Occasionally we go around, we do some weeding, off with the head, or we get them healing therapy. Therefore, everyone's enlightened. Once again. Then what happens? Well, we're all in flow state. Ever heard of flow state? We're in bliss. Satchitananda, heaven on earth. We're in bliss. So what happens? We just play. We're playing. Which is already what we're doing. If you're in the flow state. If you're enlightened. You're doing the great work. We continue doing the great work, but now in a great environment. Imagine it. Every day, you wake up and you play. Just like a kid. You play, you create. It's great. It continues for eternity. There may be another age of darkness that comes, or we might just be in perpetual bliss and exponential acceleration into deeper and deeper gratitude and just awe. This vision, I've always had this vision, and there are others, many others, who have this vision of Utopia, of heaven. And it's often spoken about, even amongst the so-called sheep, amongst those who are unaware of its closeness, of its ease to manifest it, and those who aren't living in it. What am I talking about? Utopia, heaven, oneness with God. It's spoken about. Everyone's talking about how we can improve, evolve. Everyone has this dream, this vision of heaven on earth, Utopia. Is God speaking to us all, calling us. Jesus Christ. It's the best exclamation. Jesus Christ, this is going on for ages. Why? Because it's unlimited. There is endless good news pouring through this conduit to you. And it's exactly the same as God. God is endlessly calling us. God is going on and on and on about heaven. Look at it. See? It's all the word of God, and it's going on and on with this beautiful colours, sounds, and bodies, forms. Oh, what a dream, what a dream. This vision of heaven, when you find it within, you become it. You are heaven, you are bliss. And everything you do is on behalf of that. You act, think, speak, move as heaven, to bring forth heaven. But already as heaven, you are it. So you're already in a state of bliss. You're already one with God. You're already living in heaven. And yet, to those living in hell, or in a state of ignorance, you seem to be bringing it forth into manifestation. It's beautiful. So how do you bring forth heaven on earth? First, you find heaven within you and on earth, because you are both. You are spiritually in heaven and physically on earth. And where is earth? Where is this existence happening? It's inside you, inside your awareness, which is that formless heaven. It's the non-physical heaven. And they're one. One is inside the other. They're inside each other. They are lovers. So you find heaven, and then you know the way. You know the way to move, the way to be, the what to say, what to do. And how do you know it? Because you are it. You're just being. You are heaven. Ah, I am stepping on some spiky things. And then you know the plan. You know what's up. You know the end goal. You know the future. Because you've collapsed it all. Time has collapsed into your presence. You can see the future because you have the vision. And it's this vision of heaven. So you know what comes next. And what is it? The flow continues. A bliss continues. This continues. You continue to have fun, and ever more so. because we're a paradox. We're a beautiful divine paradox. We are evermore what already is, which is God, the absolute Sat Chit Ananda, truth, consciousness, bliss, love. So yeah, dear Lord, please stop me. I will go for it all day. So yeah, hop on your canoe, get on with it, on with your bike, your hike, row your boat gently down the stream. Enjoy the flow, enjoy deepening in the flow. Yeah, I love you. Thank you for accepting my love and receiving this message. I trust it will find you in divine timing by the will of God.